It's here! Oh my god! It's here, it's finally here! We can play it! We have it, oh my god, it's not a beta, it's finally here, oh my god. So finally, after what felt like forever, we actually have access to Sonic Racing Crossworlds, folks. We finally dropped, and it's actually dropping today at the time of recording. And I have been trying to pull myself away from the game for long enough to actually talk about the game for just a bit. In what's felt like the busiest month for gaming so far of this year, I'm honestly proud and really happy that this game managed to grab my attention for as long as it did. Because we started this month off by ending the beta, and then I've been playing Silksong because Silksong dropped immediately after. I've been trying to play some other racing games in anticipation for this one. And I think Hades 2 comes out, I'm not sure at the time of recording. Another like big giant. And I don't know what else is out. So it's very packed, very busy month, and the game still managed to do like fairly well, I think. I don't know sales-wise, of course, but I at least feel like everyone's talking about this one, everyone's comparing it to Mario Kart, and that competition is helping the game a lot more. Not that the game itself isn't like a very quality step forward, we're gonna get into that right now, just as we talk about it here. But yeah, I have been playing this one for a while. The beta got me, guys. I was not gonna buy this at first because after hearing the $70 price point, I was very like, I'll just wait for a price drop and stuff, and that avoided the marketing. But then they dropped the beta. I played it with my friends. I had a ton of fun. I made like a 40-hour, a 40-minute video about it, and yeah, I'll try to make this one a bit shorter here. I'll try to have this like compressed thoughts and just run through it very quickly. But yeah, it actually made me spring for the Digital Deluxe, not only to play 3 days earlier, but since I saw that Mega Man was revealed, I went for it. That was like the big thing that got me like for the season pass. I don't really care too much for the others, but there's more tracks and more stuff. Anyway, let's just dive in. So I'll talk to you like you don't know what a Sonic Racing Crossworlds is, just so we can get the gameplay part started. So basically, this is your average racing game, the competitor to Mario Kart, because we just had that earlier this year. And just so you know, I can't compare it because I don't own a Switch 2. I have not done that because it's not worth it to me so far. So unfortunately, if you're looking for some type of comparison, I can't do that. So look somewhere else. But finish this video, please. Anyway, so this is just an average kart racer where you hop in a kart or an extreme gear if you're based and take the tracks. And it's a 12-man race of everyone fighting for the top and trying to be the best there ever was. You have your average, you know, the setup. You have the accelerate, you have the drift button, you have looking behind you, you have items, you have a lot of different courses to race in, and it's basically racing as you know it. It's just the most simple setup ever. Especially in comparison to Mario Kart, since I just brought that up. This isn't trying to have like an open world or anything, and it's very basic. The tracks, as you'll see here in the footage, are very narrow and straightforward. This is like your most arcade kart racer ever, and with its own gimmick of leaping across the worlds, hence Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And yeah, that is basically the structure of everything here. You take to a track, you race the first lap in that track. The second lap you go to a different crossworld depending on who is in first. They get to pick. And more often than not, it's just one option out of like the crossworlds, just a random option. So if you go random, you literally can go anywhere. So actually performing well in this game requires that you know like not just the track inside out, like the game itself inside out. Like that's what I appreciate about this game, because it feels like a leap from Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, where before then in Transformed, the track would shift depending on what was happening. But that was it, you know. Once you knew what the track was, like for example the first lap were on the ground, the second and third lap were like in the sky or whatever. Racing Crossworlds takes that up to 11, because now you never know what the second lap is gonna be. And the third lap also is changed, by the way. Even if you're back to the original track you started on, the third lap also kind of changes it up and has like different parts open in the track and things like that. The controls are really tight, it feels really good to race, and you could just immediately hop right into like Grand Prix or online or whatever and just, you know, off to the races and go ham. There's really not much I can really explain with this one, but I wanted to highlight the other thing that gives Crossworlds its edge, other than the Crossworlds mechanic itself, the level of customization in this game is great. There's already like the different class types, like their speed, acceleration, handling, power, and boost. But the other big thing that really gives this game its customization edge is the gadgets, and that's the other big aspect to this game, and how like most people are going to be interacting with this game, and it just gives it this other element of like building your character and building your loadout before you head in. And yeah, that is one of the really fun aspects that I've just been messing around with. The customization really starts before you even get to the gadget screen, actually, because all the characters are split into the 5 classes, and they also like have their own stats, so to speak, and the vehicles as well. So for example, if you pick Sonic but you have him in a power vehicle, that vehicle is going to have a bit more speed than if you pick Tails and put him in a power vehicle, in which case that vehicle is going to have more acceleration, because Tails is an acceleration character and Sonic's a speed character, and they affect the vehicle that you have them in. And the vehicles themselves, how the game works is that they give you these tickets, and you can just use them as currency to buy all the customization parts. Like you can buy the front and the back of any given vehicle, as well as the tires if you're racing on a kart, and those stats have different, like those vehicles have different stats, I mean. So for example, Sonic and Shadow's cars, they can have, like, they're probably going to have the highest speed in the speed category, but another vehicle is going to have a bit less speed, but it kind of like compensates by giving you more acceleration or handling and whatnot. And you can just mix and match not only the character that you use, but the front and the back of the vehicle that you use and the class of all of that. And all that just kind of like is mid-maxing stats to see where are you very comfortable, like what like 2 or 3 stats do you want to focus on, and have the others just like that's gonna carry you. And then that's just like multiplied by 1,000 when you get to the gadget system, which enables so many different options and ways to play, be it like gathering rings, be it like adjusting your stats, being it like rigging it so that you get specific items, and you can just mix and match, being it so that you recover better. And yeah, that's like what gives it this edge to where you have a lot more control over what you do, unlike other games where, for example, Transformed had like different mods you can use. Riders games had like different extreme gears with different stats, and in Zero Gravity's case, different passives and gear changes and stuff like that. There was always a level of customization to all these racing games, but Crossworlds takes it to a whole nother level, and I think that alone is like a big part of the fun before even hopping into a race. So that's great and all, but none of that really matters unless you have something to play it on, right? What is the content that you're getting, especially for a $70 game or $90 game if you jumped for the deluxe version? And I'm happy to say that the game does come with quite a lot of meat to its bones. Not only do you get like 24 racetracks, like 7 cups and an 8th secret cup just at the beginning, but you start with different modes and different ways to play the game. And actually I was kind of surprised by this, but the single player itself kind of took a lot of my attention before I even decided to hop online. Not only because I wanted to play like the new courses that weren't in the open beta, but there's like the Grand Prix mode has this interesting twist that I really liked, was the rival system, which the game will have a rival for you, and you can select what difficulty they are. And you even get to select the rival. I didn't even know you could do that, but thankfully they give you that option, and I know why now. I'll get into that in a second. And yeah, basically this kind of like creates this banter between you and whoever the rival is. Not only does every single character have, like 2 characters have their 2 interactions front and back. Like for example, if you're Storm and you get your Jet as your rival, you're gonna have an interaction between them. But if it's the other way around, you get Jet and Storm as your rival, it's going to be a different interaction. So every 2 characters have their own interaction, and that is a lot. And not only do they have like quotes when you pass them and they pass you on the track, they have their own quotes when, like, if you're beating them or you're losing to them midway through the Grand Prix, you know. And it just makes it a lot more personal, and it gives the Grand Prix a ton of fun. Like the Grand Prix alone, not even the race park mode and the time trials. Those are like the 3 main modes you have for single player, but just playing Grand Prix alone was very addicting, not only because of this rival system that gives it so much character and just you're so invested and you really want to beat the Grand Prix and your rival, but the difficulty options too. Like when I started this game, I actually and I was playing the new courses that I wasn't accustomed to yet and wasn't used to. I had to like have the difficulty lowered to a set point. At some point the difficulty was too much. I couldn't keep up with them because it actually is pretty rough out there, and that gives it like this competitive edge. It's not like other games where the single player is very easy once you know what you're doing, and you know, even like in single player you're gonna find yourself probably experimenting with different builds, or if you just don't have the time you're just gonna lower the difficulty. And the second mode in single player is Race Park. I'll touch on this very briefly. Race Park is actually kind of interesting. It's kind of like the intended for multiplayer mode, where this is all the different game modes that you the different game modes like to spice things up if you want a bit more than your just typical race. And actually we kind of saw a glimpse of this earlier in the beta when the Joker event happened, and for a day we had like this interesting event set up where you raced in teams and there was like all this objectives that you had to accomplish. And it's actually a lot interesting too. Even this, by the way, has a rival system where you take on different teams and you beat them 3 times in a mode of your choosing, and you get a vehicle, and that's like a vehicle for free, and it's pretty cool. The only complaint I have about it is that I was kind of hoping there were more extreme gears. There wasn't a single one, which the extreme gears, they definitely, in terms of customization, they had the least options available, which makes me a bit sad since I was the extreme gear main really. But it is what it is. This game is getting more content as we go along, so you know, I'll wait to judge the full like content of this game and everything we have access to a bit later on. But yeah, back to Race Park. So you face off against these rivals, or you can turn them off if you want, in different modes. For example, there's like double and triple team matches with the objective of like tagging your allies or hitting the enemies with as much items as you can, or collecting rings and doing all that. And there's even this fun like extreme race mode where it's just like super items and monster trucks and drills and laser wisps and boosts, and you're just going ham, and it's such a fun mode to race in. It ended up being my default mode go-to to like make like an anti-item build and go in there and just own others with items, and pretty fun, honestly. Great mode. There's even a custom mode where you can just make whatever rules you want. You can decide what match it's gonna be, or you can, you know, do all of that. And since this game allows up to 4-player multiplayer locally, that's a big mode you're gonna have fun with if you choose to bring some friends over and just, you know, have a good time. I think the game does a good job accounting for that as well. Other than that, there's Time Trials, the final like single player mode, and it's, you know, it is what it is. It's Time Trials. There's really nothing to say about that. But the good thing I like about it is the game gives you incentive to play these modes even if you're playing alone or are not interested in Time Trials, because there's a jukebox in this game, and there are challenges to get extra tickets for and extra like titles and rewards, and there are unlocks hidden in both of those modes. Like I already mentioned, the vehicles in the Race Park, but in Time Trials, getting A ranks on like a Grand Prix, like on the 3 tracks in a Grand Prix, is you get like more jukeboxes and more options to select your own OST, and it kind of carries that part over from like Sonic and Shadow Generations, where you can choose an OST to play. And you know, the game gives you a lot of reason to play the single player just on your own. Like I was actually surprised how much time I spent just playing the game by myself before I even wanted to hop online. So, like I mentioned, in the basic game here, you have 24 tracks just at the beginning here as we launch. And something I had to highlight about these after playing other kart racers, and I just noticed this as I was racing, is these tracks are some of the shortest tracks I've raced in a kart racer. It was kind of interesting to me. That would seem like a bad thing when you look at it from afar, but honestly, I just feel like it's designed really well in a sense, because not only are the tracks very dynamic, and the crossword mechanic is meant to like make it so that every race is very unpredictable, so it really gives them this like middle ground of all these different tracks in different locations, but they're very short, but it's always very like dopamine heavy, where you're always being hit with something you're not expecting. Obviously with the items and the other 11 racers you're against, but the track as well has a lot of hazards, and the tracks themselves are really fun, honestly. There's really not much to say. It's just you pick a track and you're off to the races. Every track has their flavor of obstacles. It's kind of different, and lap 3 kind of changes it up as opposed to lap 1, which is just a bit more standard. And yeah, when you break it down, these tracks are very similar in a sense, where it's just going to be a lot of drifting and taking shortcuts and using your items optimally and stuff like that. But in the water and in the air, shortcuts do open, and sometimes you're given an option of which route to go. And I like that it really pushes that Sonic-esque design. You're gonna see in a track, there's like a shortcut you can take in like some rings. Like if you're actually playing a Sonic game, like those dash rings, you could just jump in and take an alternate route. And that was presented to you a lot of the time, and some of those shortcuts are very hard to nail. It actually gave me a big incentive to like try a handling build to hit those shortcuts and to see how much time it saves. And yeah, the game really challenges you, not by its AI and just how tight it is, but the track design as well is very like tightly knitted, and it feels great, man. The 12 tracks, I have little negative to say about them, visually and how they're designed. Speaking of which, the game's presentation overall is very nice. The visuals I can't talk to as much, as this is not like something I'm very proficient in or an expert in. I think personally it looks pretty good. Like, I'm not an expert. I heard people like saying the colors aren't kind of muted, or the you know, this and that, it's not that good. So I can't really talk to it that much, but the only thing I'm gonna say is I just like it more than how, when I'm comparing it to Frontiers, I like how the game is very colorful. You go to a lot of different locales. It looks very nice. Like, I can understand there's a bit of low textures. The models are a bit rough around the edges for the characters. When you zoom in the rival moments and when you're playing Grand Prix, you kind of notice the models are a bit kind of rough. That's the only thing I really noticed. And of course, like some of the animations in the background, like you're gonna see like some chow or a fish that's jumping in the background, and it's like moving at like 2 frames a second. So yeah, that's the other thing I noticed, really. Now, if we talk about the music for this game, that's a bit more in my area of expertise, and I can talk about that and give my opinion a bit more fully, if you will. And I can confidently say that I really do like this soundtrack. I'm pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, especially because in the marketing they kind of focused on a lot of like, I want to say techno, that's kind of generalizing it, but most of what they were showing off were either remixes of older locales that were just, they had a different remix, and most of them went to like this techno route and kind of dubstep, but it kind of rarely dipped its toes in dubstep. It was kind of like in and out. This synth that's just taking over the track entirely. And if you're playing as classic Sonic, it's all these Genesis emulation, like they're emulating the Genesis soundboard, and it's again, the compositions, they're all good. I listen to this track, I go back to those tracks quite a bit, but the instrumentation just makes me want to look for remixes of actual, like, different, you know, and more well put together sounds, you know what I mean? And that's something that Racing Crossworlds does really well. You're gonna have your pianos, you're gonna have your like natural instruments, you're gonna have a bit of rock in there and a bit of like blues in some areas, and of course you're gonna have your techno and your EDM and all that. And the game blends them together really well. And even like the main theme, Sonic Racing, I think it's called. I don't know what the theme is called, but the opening theme you hear in the beginning, it kind of grew on me after a while. I didn't really like it at first, but now I think I take to it a bit better, and it just flows really well for a racing game. Soundtrack overall, really good. I recommend you go listen for yourself. I think they did a good job on this one. I really appreciate it because, yeah, it's a Sonic game. What else is new? It's not like they were gonna fill a soundtrack, really. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the game without really going into too much detail here and rambling on. Those were like the main talking points I wanted to mention. So I kind of wanted to wrap up this video with a segment similar to what I did in the first video, which was, back then it was what I'm expecting, what I'm hoping for in the full release. This is what I didn't see so far, and I hope can be implemented in future DLC, just to have it out there. So for example, one thing that I really wanted but didn't get, and it just crossed my mind when I was racing, having the Crossworlds, I kind of was hoping they would be their own full tracks, right? And I didn't think it would be too difficult if they wanted to do that, where they already have like the first lap set down. I guess the Crossworlds are a bit shorter, but you know, that's fine, it doesn't matter. They have the first lap set down, all they would have to make is just like a third lap of that same lap, but I'm saying lap a lot. But they like make a third lap a bit different, like open some alternate routes, make the course a bit crazier, and just have that as like a main course that you can race in. And then, you know, I kind of wanted to see that because I wanted to go to Dinosaur Jungle from Secret Rings, Pirate Storm, stuff like that. Digital circuits in this game from Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, how did Shadow Generations not have a Shadow stage, but this game does? That's something. But yeah, another thing that I wanted to see was maybe make it so that you can race, like you can remove the Crossworld gimmick. I don't know why they didn't put this in. I figured it would be pretty easy. But you can just have like a very ordinary second lap and just race like that if you wanted to. If something like this is in the game, please let me know. I don't think it is. Not that I would really use that as a option, really, because it's the main gimmick of the game and I'm having fun with the Crossworld. But it would have been something nice to have, like how Team Sonic Racing allowed you to race without its main gimmick, without the whole team thing. You could just do individual races. It would have been cool to see them here do the same and make it so that, okay, you want like a more traditional experience here, like here's your like typical 3-lap course, just go around the same circle 3 times and have fun, man. And the final thing, I didn't touch up on the online too much because it works basically the same way it did in the beta. The online is very stable, it's pretty good. What you can only do is just do standard races, like the game's gonna give you 3 tracks and you can pick one of those 3 and that's about it. I was hoping we could do like Grand Prix and other stuff, that would have been interesting, but again, it's a ranked mode, so, you know, I don't know how that would fit in. Maybe they have to put it in as a separate mode. Yeah, that's like all the other things that I would have liked to see or maybe see in future updates. And more extreme gears, please, and more zero gravity redesigns. I have a friend that's losing his mind because we don't have like other zero gravity and riders gears, and I kind of have to agree that I was hoping to see a bit more. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, with that said, that's all I really have to say about this game. I hope this video doesn't come out too long. That's why I'm trying to move through my points a bit quicker here, because I don't want to ramble off and just keep talking, because that's very easy to do. But yeah, maybe I will try like recording myself playing online a bit and just like race a bit and upload that later if you guys want to see more content of this game. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. Like, I just want to finish editing this video and just put it up there so I can go back and play the game. Honestly, it's really fun. And that's coming from someone who wasn't going to buy it initially, but the open beta convinced me. The marketing's been great. The release has been great. The fact that there's so much upcoming content, not only characters, but vehicles and tracks and all that, it just gives you a lot to look forward to. This game is looking very healthy, and I'm hoping it gets a lot of support in the future. Like, the online stays healthy. I'm hoping it doesn't die out quickly. Like, I'm hoping this becomes the platform they really want it to be, because it seems they want it to be this big platform, and not only do we get like one season, but we can get like a season pass after that, and you know, after that, and yeah. Anyway, with that being said, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Like, comment, sub if you like all this content. If you want any suggestions or anything like that, let me know. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a good one.